Awesome. Well, hello, welcome. Thank you all for being here and viewing this sure to be great conversation. We are here for the Artist Talk for life's journey or life's movement, sorry. The current exhibition on display at the Silk Purse Arts Center. We have one of our amazing artists here with us, Kirsty Paterson. My name is Stephen Snyder. I am the Gallery and Communications Coordinator for the West Vancouver Community Arts Council. And we are so thrilled to be able to present this stunning exhibition and have artists like Kirsty, as well as Francine Drouin and Holly Winters on display. Life's Movements is on from now until March the 5th here at the Silk Purse Arts Center, which is in West Vancouver, next to John Lawson Park, on the unceded and traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples. Here in particular, that means the Squamish Nation. And we are incredibly grateful for our host nations, our neighbors, and our community members for their stewardship of these beautiful lands since time immemorial. So if any of you watching have any questions or comments throughout this conversation, you can drop those in the chat and we will get to them a little bit later. So, hello, Kirsty, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Unfortunately, our other two artists, Francine Drouin and Holly Winters, could not make it for some technical difficulties, but we will get into learning a little bit more about them and their art as we go through. So, Kirsty, if you would be so kind as to introduce yourself and let everyone know a little bit about you.
Okay, I'm Kirsty Paterson, and those are my images behind me there. And I take most of my images with my trusty iPhone 13 Pro, but I also have a little Sony RX 5 Mark 100 Mark 5 and an Olympus TG6. I don't have particularly formal training. I learned a lot of stuff by making mistakes and experimenting and taking online courses and reading and asking people lots and lots of questions. If I have any kind of formal background, I trained and worked as an art therapist for a while, worked with different types of clients. And it's really taught me the value of how important it is to express yourselves in whatever form, gardening, cooking, art, music. It is you just reaffirming who you are. And so I guess this is just that I'm continuing on with the process, but this time it's me creating, not the clients. And this is my first gallery show, and I'm very grateful and appreciate the chance to show these images behind me. And that's basically my background or CV.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Kirsty. Yeah, if anyone has any questions on any of that, drop those in the chat and we will follow up a little bit later. Now, we'll talk a little bit about our other two artists who are here in the exhibition. So I'm just going to pull up a sample of each artist's work and tell you a little bit about them. So first up, we are going to learn a little bit about another photo-based artist. This exhibition has two photo-based artists, Kirsty and Francine Drouin, and a painter, Holly Winters. So, yeah, so Francine Drouin, this is an image of Francine's. It's a fantastic piece called The Colors of Cornito. It was taken on a trip that she went to Nicaragua. So Francine Drouin grew up in the serene part of the Ottawa Valley. She was very interested in the arts from a very young age, pursuing dance, music, and painting. After completing a degree in anthropology and various business courses, she pursued a career leading to medical research, corporate sales, and marketing. After relocating to Vancouver, uh, this change in perspective and location fostered a renewed interest in the visual arts for Francine, particularly using the camera. What followed were presentations of her work in a major cinema venue, radio interviews. She's been involved in the movie industry and has had gallery exhibitions throughout Western Canada. So Francine says on her work, my work explores the use of photography as a means to create rather than to document. I attempt to fuse reality with the imagined. Vignettes of larger scenes are most often the focus of my photographs. Characterized by extreme sparseness and simplicity, images make considerable use of negative space. I also draw on a minimum amount of color and content. This often leaves interpretation and meaning to the viewer's perception of my work, one of the greatest achievements of minimalism. Digital intervention also plays an important role in arriving at the final print. It allows me to massage, enhance, mold, and transform the image in a style that has often been described as painterly. It's an extension of her vision, calculated cropping, a critical part of the process, creating energy and visual tension. In the work that is currently on display, of which this fantastic photograph is, most come from her series, The Beach, which features children engaged in playful moments and adults lost in thought. These are recurring themes. And this cityscape here, Carnito in Nicaragua, it is a port city. So these houses are close to the water as well. So they really carry that sort of that beachy vibe. My images often portray a surreal quality, as if capturing loosely rendered moments in time, a fleeting glimpse of what is to become the past. In my subjects, I try to embody distance, beauty, and mystery. In my quest for new and different styles, I will continue to study and be inspired by other art forms. So you can definitely see a lot of that mystery and emerging from a haze and the past, and these bright spots of color contrasted with this murky white that they're emerging from in this fantastic piece here. So Francine, thank you for having your artwork in this exhibition. And now we're going to see some work from our other artist, Holly Winters. Holly is a painter, and I'm just going to pull up her piece now. So this is a fantastic piece by Holly called Embryo Embraced by Ancestors. So Holly Winters was raised in Nova Scotia and has as well had an artistic bent at a young age, selling realistic painting commissions by the age of 13. Holly continued her artistic career throughout high school, after which she studied fine arts at Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick, graduating with a BFA. Holly has traveled around the country, creating art and sharing artwork. She is also, as experienced here by this art piece you see in front of you, shifted away from the more traditional realistic work that she had originally been working in into these fantastic abstract pieces, which she began experimenting in automatic drawing. And she transforms this automatic drawing process into her paintings, which she calls abstract intuitive art. So with this unique style of painting, Holly has to say, my art is inspired through my artistic approach of drawing from my unconscious mind via a ballpoint pen on watercolor paper. This approach allows for spontaneous imagery to develop from a continuous line overlapping. I recognize the forms that develop as various motifs that reoccur, and over a long period of time, these shapes have reoccurred as embryo-like or wing-like, and these represent the material living world. and the world of the non-living, or what Holly likes to refer to as ancestors. She further says, I often choose color to symbolize these motifs, as well as help define the composition of an acrylic painting I make from the automatic drawing. These colors are mostly intense pinks, oranges, reds, to describe the embryonic motifs, and blues, purples, or yellow tones to denote the ancestor motifs. The color black is chosen to often represent the void or outer space, or the aspect of nothingness that these other aspects emerge from or are surrounded by. She further goes on to say, I prefer to work in a minimalist style, and I think it works in the forms the images are not overwhelmed, but rather allowed to breathe. The simple forms that evolve from the original spontaneous, continuous line drawing that I use as templates for my paintings are symbolic, often recurring motifs that evoke meaning for me. They are forms from my unconscious mind, which gives rise to conscious ponderings on the preciousness of all life, whether that be physical manifestations or immaterial ones, as hinted through her titles. So yeah, as you can see in this piece, all of the continuous lines, you can see those overlapping shapes, the wing and the embryo motifs, creating this really wonderful image to get lost in, to kind of figure out what it means for yourself. So thank you, Holly Winters, for participating in this exhibition as well. So now we're going to take a quick little tour of the exhibit so you can all get a bit of a taste for it, and hopefully be inspired to come on down and visit the Silk Purse in person to really take it in and really experience this fantastic artwork live in our charming seaside gallery. All right, so this is the view as you come in off our street entrance from Argyle Avenue. You can come in and see our intimate gallery space and everything on the wall, how it's arranged. See all of our three artists and how they sort of, how their work plays off of each other and works together. So then right by the door, you come in, you see some of Francine Drouin's fantastic photography. Again, like I read in Francine's statement, this great minimal use of color and image to really create this an intense focal point, but intense in a mysterious kind of way. You can see this painterly photograph that she sort of talks about how she manipulates with light and speed to blur her subjects and create this almost a memory type effect rather than a documentation. And it's great having two photo-based artists. We don't usually get to show a lot of photography, so it's really wonderful to have you and Francine in this exhibit, Kirsty. And then next up, we have Holly Winters' bold and colorful paintings. Which, as mentioned in the statement that she provided, they're done on watercolor paper, starting off with a ballpoint pen, but then the paint application is actually done with acrylic, which is interesting to see how that opaque texture works with the texture of a watercolor paper. And except for this larger piece here, the one that we just saw, it's on a canvas. And again, yeah, in Holly's work, there's all of these interesting shapes to figure out and try and discern, why these certain colors are here and why is this shape broken in half by this line. It's a great thing about this exhibition is there's a lot to discover in everyone's work and to really figure out what your process was, right? Like, why did you make the choice to do this particular thing? What does that mean to you, and what are you trying to say to us, the viewer, through these choices and how you make these images? Swing around the gallery. And as you come in, there'll be a guest book so you can sign and let the artist know what you think, and then read up a little bit about them. We've got some bios there. And then we have that piece by Francine that we just saw a few moments ago. And then from there, we move on to Kirsty, onto your pieces. These very colorful, bold, expressive works. Which again, Kirsty, in your pieces, just like in the other artists' work, there's a lot going on. There's a lot to figure out in these images, I think, for viewers to figure out what exactly the image is, maybe what it means to them, how you made it. And really interesting color choices, Kirsty, I have to say, in your pieces. And then we have a few more smaller versions of Francine's photos down there. Yeah, so it's a really wonderful exhibition. I think these pieces, these artists, their work all really speaks to one another in a lot of interesting kind of ways. So if you do have the opportunity, please come down to the Silk Purse here in West Van and check it out in person. Awesome. Yeah. So again, Kirsty, thank you for sharing your artwork with us. And now we'll do a little bit of a deep dive. Kirsty has chosen a piece to talk about, kind of what inspired it and what made it. So let's go ahead and yeah, Kirsty, let's hear about your artwork, Winter Trees.
Okay, let me see. Can you see the blue image there? I'll show you closer. I have to think backwards. The blue image, this one.
Yeah, I have a copy of it. I'll just pull it up and share it on our screen right now.
Oh, okay, thank you. It would be easier because they're pretty small pieces. It's hard to see.
Excellent. So this is.
Oh, thank you, Stephen. You saved me. Oh, yeah, that's it. You can see there's a tree on the upper left-hand corner, and this image represents it's circular, so it represents the circle of life or the 4 seasons, and in this particular image, it's the winter season.
Yeah, wonderful. And you had some process shots you wanted to share, right?
Yeah, I just took them on my phone. When I was first starting out, I didn't know much about motion blur or how to edit. So I went down to, the train tracks near Second Narrows Bridge, and I had this great big plan on how I'm going to photograph moving trains with graffiti on the side and get some wonderful blurry, cool pictures. But the trains were moving so slowly, I should have moved my camera. And the graffiti wasn't very colorful or interesting, but I knew there was graffiti underneath the Second Narrows Bridge, so I thought I'll go photograph that. So I first this is all I got for the train, but I didn't get any graffiti, unfortunately. I really enjoy photographing graffiti. And then, so I looked up at the sky. Can you guys see? And you can see in the up here, here's Second Narrows Bridge. But I like the cloud. It was like it was someone just racing across the sky, and I like the contrast with the trees. So I just took it because there's an app that you can get rid of objects and stuff. It's called Touch Retouch. So then that image with editing became this one. This has got a kind of a lavender look to it. And the trees have turned white. You can see the difference. And then I ran it through this, and there you see winter trees. And there's an app made by Brain Fever called Circular, and it does really interesting stuff to images, and you end up with things you just totally don't expect. It's like going on a strange voyage. So that's the process behind that one. Like when I go out, I look for drama and contrast in, say, color or light or texture, or sometimes I just see something I totally haven't planned for and it becomes something. And if I take a picture but I feel like it's missing elements, I go home and I do my best to edit. And so I've only created 2 pieces with blank digital paper. I admire people that can create on just a blank canvas or a blank piece of digital paper. I'm always basing my images on photographs, and then I took them through various editing processes. Like my process, which will change, I know, as I go on. I'll take a picture, I'll go home, I'll run it through 3 or 4 different apps, just different filters, just for inspiration, not necessarily using, or I'll use tone curves to edit to get some really crazy, wild, psychedelic look, just to trigger myself to think, now, what could happen? Like my motto is, what if, why not? So, and then if I see something that's got potential, then what I might do is take that same image, edit it in one app, edit it in another app, and take a section of the, say, the second app conversion and superimpose it on the first app. And that way, to me, there's a unity because you have different elements of the same image altered, but they're combined. So to me, that makes it sort of more holistic. And I like trying stuff like that. And then after I've combined, I might run the same image through several apps. And then cropping is very important because you want the maximum impact from your image. You don't want too much extraneous stuff. And cleaning up is important too with touch retouch, like extra objects you don't need. And I often can, I do paint, digitally paint with clone stamping. You take a section of the picture and painting it onto another section. And lately I've been getting into an app called Procreate where you can, there's all kinds of digital brushes and pens and so on that you can paint on sections of a piece that gives it more pizzazz, which is, you know, what I want to have that kind of impact. Yeah, I have a process, and it's basically, you know, I guess people develop a style or a way of working, and this works for me. But I mean, I hope that I can evolve and change down the road. Like, I'd like to learn more about long exposure photography and about mixed media. And I'd like to go to Las Vegas and photograph the city lights in the desert, because it's very different from the North Shore, you know. So yeah, I've been doing a lot more light trails and experimenting with long exposure, and I just love the effect. It looks almost like a painting.
Yeah.
So it's good to keep trying new things.
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's that's kind of, I think, part of the artist's journey, right? Is to explore how they make their images, while exploring, what that means to them. Yeah.
Well, there's so many neat things I had no clue about in editing. Like there's these effects you can create called distort or warp or transform, where the color in your image, it becomes like liquid paint, and you can just slosh it around, and do all these weird shapes. And you can touch another part of your editing app and create crystals. And it's amazing. I haven't done much with oils or acrylics, but it's just amazing how you can, in a digital editing, you can control the degree even of how much this effect occurs, and I just think that's so incredible. I admire these designers so much that come up with these ideas. I really do.
Yeah. Your embrace of technology and how to use all of these different programs to enhance your artwork is pretty wonderful. Why do you think that that works for you rather than just straight up photography? How does this help you sort of express what you're trying to say?
It's a good question. Well, to be honest, I get bored very easily. I like a creative challenge. What I like about digital editing, for me, I like small, precise details and very clear lines. And I can do that in digital editing. I would find it harder, though, it's my lack of training and my lack of ability to do with more traditional media. And I'm just amazed by the range of what all these different editing apps can do. It's like constant exploration. Like there's an editing app called Reflect, and the bottom part of your picture reflects what's above, right? And so you can have like a smooth lake or ice reflecting above, or a choppy ocean. And it's so cool seeing what is above being reflected below. And then you can alter the degree of displacement, how big you want it to reflect, how much choppiness or smoothness. And it's great. You can create all these alternate worlds. And other apps like, say, Alien Sky, you can incorporate space images like from planets and moons, or lens light. That's a great one for flares, light flares. Like, I love these apps that have got the old analog look and the old light leaks, and the old scratch expired film. I think it gives an image so much character, I admire people who have technically perfect photography. I think it's a wonderful what you do. But for me, I like chaotic and kind of broken down, imperfect stuff. Because to me, that's what gives it personality.
Yeah, oh, wonderful. A lot of the work that you have on display in this exhibition is sort of nature inspired, like your subjects, like trees and flowers and plants and stuff. What is it about those natural elements that sort of draw you to them as a subject?
I chose those images because I thought that would be more in theme with the environment here in West Van by the ocean. But I love grungy art. I love industrial art. I like techno art, but I didn't feel those images would be compatible with the atmosphere of this gallery. So that's why. But I like nature images because I'm constantly amazed by the fractals and the repetitions in nature, that you keep seeing the blueprints being repeated again and again. Like, I have one picture of snow melting in a skateboard bowl. I ran some filters over it, and it turned into, well, in the skateboard world, there was graffiti, and the snow was melting around the graffiti, revealing the colors underneath. But when I ran it through editing and the filters, it looked just like surfboards, and the shape of the snow above will just look like ripples of the ocean. And I thought, well, that's great. There's Mother Nature just telling me again, you know, the same patterns again and again. You know, it's just amazing. So, but I mean, don't get me wrong, I like nature images, but I want to do it all.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes,
be
you're
greedy.
very ambitious.
I am, I'm be greedy.
No, it's really great to hear and to see that thirst for exploration and trying new techniques and new programs and trying to find new images. It's really great to hear an artist wanting to challenge themselves.
Yeah, I would like to take, I don't know, do you ever stop learning? You know, it's forever, isn't it, really? So,
Yeah. I would like to maybe circle back a little bit. You mentioned in your background your experience as an art therapist, which is very interesting and fascinating. I know we had a little bit of a chat about that before before we went live. Could you tell us a little bit more about how that career has maybe influenced your approach to art making?
When I was working with people, I saw again and again how when expressing themselves through different mediums, whether clay or paint or drawing, people project themselves in their creation, in their art piece. And in art therapy, it's a safe place where people can express emotions, memories, thoughts that are hard to verbally express. And so it's a great feeling of lifting off the burden. It's a freeing experience. And I think it helps people connect with a deeper part of themselves. You know, like when you hear a piece of music, you don't need words to appreciate it or let it move you. Well, a piece of art can do the same too, I feel. And I can't go into client details, but I saw someone that was very severely injured, horrible injuries, and he received art therapy. And then at the very end, he drew a painting of himself holding a whole bunch of colorful balloons. And as an art therapist, I think, oh, wow, this is great. And he was so happy, like he was going to be going home soon and his life and so on. And I knew this person was going to adjust. I mean, so he went through a lot of loss, but he was coping so well. He touched his inner strength, you know. So I was always amazed the strength of people inside. I was always blown away, you know, what people could do. So, how has it influenced my art? You know, this is something I need to explore more. I have to be more real in my art, I think. I think I have to, instead of maybe just appreciating, I go out with a sense of gratitude, and I appreciate so much what's around me. And I think I have to learn to tell a better story in my art and convey more emotion. I need to do that. So that's what I have to work on. And I think it makes it more interesting for the viewer too, if I could create something that can move them and they can relate to. And I would hope in my art, I can create something that could move someone and make their life a bit better or affect them in some kind of positive way. So I guess that's how that art therapy experience has affected me.
No, those are all fantastic points. As you say, art has that ability, to affect us, to move us, to make us feel, you mentioned earlier, safe. It can also challenge us and make us feel unsafe, and that's also kind of a cool thing to explore as well. So I love to hear that you are down to explore anything. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here I come, Las Vegas.
Perfect. Your next series.
Yes, really.
Well, thank you, Kirsty, for sharing this fantastic conversation with us. And thank you for sharing your wonderful artwork. We're so pleased to have it on display here. It's been a wonderful conversation. Really appreciate you sharing these insights. And
Thank you for giving me the chance to show. I appreciate that too. Thank you.
And thank you to our other artists, Francine Drouin and Holly Winters, for sharing their fantastic artwork as well. If you are watching this live or watching in the next couple of days, and you happen to be around, come on in and see the show here at the Silk Purse. It's on until March the 5th. And we're going to have an official Meet the Artist afternoon with all three artists on February the 26th. And they might be popping in and out of the gallery throughout the rest of the exhibit. So you'll have plenty of opportunities to chat with our artists in person and hear from them directly. So thank you again, Kirsty, for being with us and having this fantastic conversation. And for everyone watching, thank you for sharing this time with us and for supporting the arts. And we will see you all later. Take care.